and welcome to the Wheel of Crime Podcast, the podcast where two ladies play games, shout profanities, and laugh way too often. Also, this podcast does cover topics of sensitive nature, and as such, listener discretion is advised.
Well, hello there, folks. My name is Jen, and welcome to the Wheel of Crime Podcast.
My name is Emily, and yeah!
Uncle Dory.
Yeah. What the fuck is happening here? Here's the thing, though,
I'm just going with it.
Here's the thing. With our show, I was thinking about this because I was like, most shows are kind of like, refined, polished. They'll do like a good intro and then have that play.
Not ours.
At the beginning. Off the cuff, my friends. Every episode, I dig into my brain folds and I'm like, bleh. And sometimes it comes out right.
For a while I was thinking we should just like record one good intro and use that for all the episodes like most podcasts do.
Yeah.
But I think it's actually more fun hearing the nuances of Emily fuck it up every now and then.
Because it's like, what? I've said it at this point maybe 100 million times. But like...
You said it a lot.
Yeah, but it's like, I was just talking with Jen before we recorded today because I need to shove a sandwich in my face. I still can't get over how it was a few episodes ago I went to go make the sign of the cross. Like a good Catholic. While doing our intro for some reason. Still don't know why.
Unsure. It was a mystery to everyone involved.
Even Jen, who just looked at me in shock because she was like, what? Because
what's happening?
I left my body.
Are you getting rid of the demons before we record? Like, what's going on here?
Yeah, I have a job to do. But Jen, what have you been up to this last week that maybe our listeners would like to hear a little bit about? I can guess what you've been up to because I feel like we've been pretty consistent these days, but is there anything like new and fun and fancy? I'm curious.
No, not really. I've been getting more into Pilates. I think I was telling you that last time, so yes. I'm going again tomorrow. Just, trying to like add it into my routine. I'm working with a personal trainer right now, and I told him that I was going to Pilates, or like started going, and he was a little mixed on it, which I thought was interesting.
Well, I think I know why. And this may be an unpopular opinion, so I'm sorry, guys, if we have people who are gym folk and feel a type of way about it. But I've noticed that people who are men who are going to the gym and partaking in things that are like kind of like a bodybuilding type environment, even if they aren't necessarily going to be bodybuilders themselves, usually view Pilates as being like not as good as what they're doing, and also it is a female-dominated fitness industry, so there's also a little bit of contention about that.
I got that vibe because he was telling me about he's like, you're not going to be pushing yourself to failure as much. He's like, it's good cardio, but that's about it. You won't get stronger from it. And I was kind of like, hey now, I feel like that's not true.
It isn't. And it's definitely a conception thing because I'll just give you an example. When I was going to a Pilates studio, there was a girl who brought in her boyfriend who was definitely like a gym bro type guy. And he was in pieces by the end of the class. And he's like, I don't even feel like I did that much. But that's why. It's literally a completely different type of exercise that's meant to do completely different things. It's more of I would say Pilates is a discipline exercise versus like what a lot of gym bros do, which you could still say is a discipline exercise, but it's more of a like you're challenging yourself personally all the time. Like, oh, I lifted this and now I'm going to do this, versus like the Pilates aspect, which is like, this is the weight that I'm working on, but I need to be able to uphold like this posture throughout my routine and do these different things.
I don't know. I feel like an expert now because I've watched a lot of TikToks on the benefits of integrating Pilates when you're doing like strength training, and I feel like the girlies' consensus is positive. So this man who I pay, why would I care about his opinion?
Exactly. And he's a man.
And he's a man.
But no, I agree. I feel like also having diversity in any type of exercise you're doing is, I don't see a downside to that really. It's kind of like, people get frustrated because they commit to one thing. And then if you're only ever just doing that one thing and you're like, why is this like not happening? It's because, I don't know, we're human beings. We live on diversity. Routine, yes, but also still being diverse.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm liking it so far. I'm excited. This will be my first, like, real full class because the last class I did was just, like, fully an intro one. Mm-hmm. So I'm excited to dig more in.
I'm excited for you. I do not live anywhere near a studio of any type. So that's not in the cards for me in these days. But
fair. Well, next time you visit, it might be.
In one day. That'd be nice. I do miss going to classes and stuff like that. That was fun. But I feel like as far as like new things that I've been up to these days, I have been still doing my audiobooks. I am into Dungeon Crawler Carl still. I'm in that second book there. Well, it's not like the second book of the series. It's just the second book that I picked up on since you and I finished reading our last read together. And I'm hoping to finish the series soon. It's just still a lot of fun. I do miss my smut, though. I haven't picked up a good smut book in a hot minute here yet.
I know. I'm taking a little bit of a, like, moment before I get into the next read that we're doing together. I'm reading Every Summer After, and it's so cutesy. It's just, like, a cute little, like, summer romance, which I feel like is the exact vibe I need right now.
Yes.
For my walks.
Yeah, mine's just been crazy,
and then I'm also
like,
reading
Apocalypse.
Yeah. And then, the other one I'm reading physically is called Yesteryear. Such an interesting concept. It's basically this trad wife influencer who one day wakes up like in the 1800s and is thrown like actually into that life, and it's kind of this like psychological horror.
Ooh. Isn't there, I think there's a movie, isn't there, coming out about that?
There might be. It's gotten a lot of traction.
Oh, okay. Because I was like, that sounds so familiar. No, that sounds really cool. I know also I've been kind of like hemming and hawing about a book I've been seeing a little bit about online, but it's been trending on Book Talk, which I don't trust anymore. I've been burned too many times. But it's supposed to be like a psychological thriller mystery novel. I can't remember the name of it right now. But it's basically a girl who basically like in her hometown there's like a manor of people who just went missing overnight, and she kind of grows up and she ends up going to school and doing these different things, and she's like, no, like I would really like to learn more about like what exactly had happened, like I'm going to make a story out of it. So then she goes to this like abandoned manor house that's been around forever, and she goes inside and she finds like an oil painting of herself among all of these other family members. And it's kind of
spooky.
I know. And so it's kind of like a little bit about that. And I was like, I do kind of miss like a good like spooky mystery novel. I feel like when I was in high school, I read a lot of like really spooky mystery novels, and there's just something about them that are so fun, like a paranormal mystery. I love a paranormal mystery.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like when you find a good one, it hits, but I feel like it is hard to get like a really juicy one.
It is. It's tough. It's a blending of genres or whatever the fuck is going on. But, Jen and I can yap forever because that's what we do.
We can.
We talk before and after.
We literally yap for like an hour before this, and we still have more to yap about apparently.
Exactly. But we're here for a purpose today, and that is to do an episode. So, if you would like to spin our wheel of questions, Jen, I can get right into what our questions are today.
Let's spin the wheel of crime.
Holy, it's like thundering outside my house, but there is no water, just crazy wind. Damn. Okay, so would you participate in a superstition or tradition if you didn't really understand if they... sorry, I did not say that sentence right. Would you participate in a superstition or tradition you didn't really understand if the occasion felt important enough? For example, would you follow a wedding, funeral, travel, or family ritual just because everyone around you was insisting that it mattered?
Probably. I feel like I do that currently.
Yeah, I too
with
succumb
certain
to social
family
pressure.
things. Yeah. despite the way that I kind of portray myself on this podcast, I actually really hate confrontation. So I will avoid it at all costs.
For me, it's like, I just think it's really neat. The amount of different things that people feel a type of way about in the world. And I kind of have fun sometimes participating in whatever it is that people like to do as like a superstition or whatever. Of course, it depends. Like, I feel like there's obviously like levels to this. But it's like, I remember I was talking with somebody recently and they were like, oh, the last bachelorette trip I went on, the bride-to-be has a family ritual where you go and you bury like a sausage link outside of your house. Yeah. Weird. And it's meant to do something with like rain or something the next day. Like, it's supposed to make it so that you have a beautiful wedding day or whatever. And I was like, if I was at a bachelorette and, the bride-to-be just pulled out a sausage link and was like, come on, ladies, we're burying the shit in the backyard, I'd be stoked. I'd be like, this is a great story. I'm grabbing the shovel right now. Let's go.
See, I feel the same. Something like that I'd be totally down with. I might take a pause if it was something where I kind of felt didn't have good intentions.
Like a hazing or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would agree with that. That's why I feel like there's levels where it's like ridiculous and nonsensical superstition. Yeah, I'm there.
Hell yeah.
We're all gonna bully somebody a little bit because we think for some reason that's gonna bring luck or whatever. No, I'm not about that life.
Me either. Let's spin for our next question.
Yes. Is jealousy more dangerous when it's obvious or when somebody hides it well?
When somebody hides it well, 100%.
100% agree with you. I actually kind of prefer if people wear their emotions. Like, I know that's like a thing where it's like, people are like, oh, obviously you need to, manage yourself and manage your feelings, and there's a type of way to act in public. But I think sometimes it's good for people to exercise wearing their feelings, because if you're going through something and you're not being totally honest about that, that's a way more dangerous situation to find yourself in as far as like having relationships with people.
Yeah. I also just think I've covered so many stories on this podcast where there's somebody who's like seething in jealousy and like holding that to their chest, and then they blow up and shit's always bad. Mm-hmm. So I feel like maybe I have a bias there.
Definitely. But no, I do agree with you. I think that it's way worse when somebody's hiding it, for obviously what we just talked about. So let's spin for our next question. If a story keeps getting retold for generations, does it matter whether it started as the truth or not?
I don't think so.
Me either.
I think the truth is obviously there's levels to this, but I think at some point with stuff like that, the truth is kind of subjective.
It is.
It's what you believe it is.
Right. The truth is going to be something different based on people's perspectives. I totally agree with you.
Yeah.
And I do, and with this question specifically, I was like, I'm of the same opinion as you. I don't really think it matters. Because I also think, too, if a story's getting retold for generations, at that point, the story has outgrown itself to a point. Mm-hmm. Like, it's not at all going to be what it started out as. And no, it doesn't really matter, because it's now been perpetuated as something else. Like, at least in my opinion, you could sit there and say, this is exactly how it happened or whatever. But unless you lived 100 bajillion years ago, that's a tough call to make. And I'm okay with sitting here and saying, like, I might be hearing stories that are based in truth as far as we know, but I'm still going to take it for what it is, which is a story. And it can be a good story. It can be an awesome story. Mm-hmm. It can be a crazy story. But it's still just going to be, to me, a story.
At the end of the day, I think there are very little things that happened that long ago that have a genuine impact on me today. There are some, obviously. Mm-hmm. But, like, I think most things of that nature, are they really going to impact me? No. So I don't know that I care that much if they're true or not.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that makes sense.
I think there are caveats to that. Specifically with some historical measures.
That's a fair thing to say, I think, as well.
You know, I feel like we also need to respect the history of what has happened. Yeah. But I don't know that it necessarily impacts us so greatly all of the time.
Right, exactly.
If that makes literally any sense.
No, I think it does. But with that, let's spin for our last question. So do you think certain places can hold on to specifically tragedies, or is it that people project these stories onto them?
I think a little bit of both.
I would agree with that. I think it kind of also moves back into something that you and I've covered a few times as far as the question section in a lot of the stories I tell, which is like, do we think that places can hold on to different feelings and stuff? And I think that specifically in the tone and the nature of this question, since we're talking specifically tragedy, I think that like with tragedy specific events, that's a very complicated situation usually. Like tragedy isn't usually just one thing unfolding, it's multiple things unfolding. So it makes sense to me that places can hold on to whatever that is, as far as like whether that's like something physical you can see or not. But as far as like also projecting stories onto them, I totally think that's a big part of it, because if something happens that's like a tragedy, like say an opera hall, like it has this big fire and a bunch of people die, it's like you go in there and you can literally see and feel the ramifications of whatever that is. But then it's also the stories that people tell where they're like, oh my gosh, I remember that, and then this happened and whatever. And that can happen for years and years and years until you end up with like kind of a little bit of what I talk about on the show, which is like when people are talking about like historical buildings and like what happened in them and like, you know, whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, I think both are true. I think you can catch a vibe from a place, but also you can become biased based on the things that you hear, and maybe you feel something more deeply than you would have if you had known nothing.
Exactly. I think that was a very good way of saying that, Jen. You're so eloquent.
Oh, thanks. I try, you know. It's all that Pilates going to my brain.
Yeah, you're like, listen, just all of my chakras are so in sync right now. You know, they're communicating. They're chatting with each other. So do you have a guess as to what my story for you today might be about?
I think it's a story of some sort of a lady, you know, like your white ladies, red ladies that you've been talking about, who's jealous and haunts a specific place or thing.
I'm going to give you 20%.
Aw, damn it. I really thought I had that one cinched.
But you had me for a second. I was like, does she know? Because
okay, well, what part did I get right?
You'll just give me a second. I'll tell you the description. So,
okay.
The Lady Lovibond, sometimes called Lovibond, is the name given to a legendary schooner type of boat that is alleged to have been wrecked on the Goodwin sands off of the Kent coast of southeast England on February 13th, 1748. It is said to reappear there every 50 years as a ghost ship. No contemporary records of the ship or its supposed sinking have been found, however.
Ooh, we're back on our ghost ship kick. Emily was on such a ghost ship kick for a while.
I was.
And we're back, baby.
Because I think it was last year I covered one really popular one, the Flying Dutchman, I think it was, and that was a really cool story. And then kind of from there, it's neat because there are a few of them, but I know I covered a different one around Christmas time. Or my personal favorite, the flying canoe, which I'll never get over. That's a deep cut, guys. That's one of our first ever episodes.
It's iconic.
That Jen and I did. I'm still not over it. That's how I picture us moving through life, by the way, is just we're both paddling a kayak through the sky.
We're on a flying canoe through this journey called life.
By the way, we're both drunk, like
that's the crime.
Flying this canoe through the sky.
Yeah, that's the crime. That they were drunk driving.
Yeah.
Spoiler.
Just in case you guys were curious. But, yeah, so the part that got me when you were saying what you were saying was, like, you're like, it's gonna be about a lady. And I was like,
I'm kind of right.
Almost.
I'm kind of right.
Right? That's just her name.
I got ghost and lady, so I feel like I got
20%?
Yeah, it feels about right.
Yeah. That's funny. Anyways, so I'm going to get into this story for you because this is not a ghost ship that I'd heard about before I did my little deep dive into some English stories. So.
All right, take it away, Em.
So today's story takes us to the Goodwin Sands off the coast of Kent in southeast England. And right away, this is one of those places where before you even add ghosts, the setting is already kind of doing most of the work. The Goodwin Sands are a long shifting sandbank in the English Channel. For centuries, sailors treated this area as extremely dangerous. Ships could run aground, become trapped, break apart, or disappear into the sand and into the tide. It is a long history of real wrecks, real deaths, and real maritime fear. So, when people tell ghost ship stories about the Goodwin Sands, it makes sense. This is the kind of place where folklore grows naturally, but the story we're talking about today is tricky because it has all the ingredients of a classic maritime haunting. A wedding, jealousy, murder, a doomed ship, and a ghostly reappearance every 50 years. But it also has one super large problem with this story.
What?
There has been zero evidence that this ship has ever existed.
That's a slight issue.
A small one. Very small. We're just gonna... It's so small we're gonna ignore it for this episode.
Copy that, Captain.
Yeah. So, we're gonna talk about this ship called the Lady Lovibond. Lovibond. So, Lovibond. Sometimes also called the Lovibond. So, Luvibond. And this is a ghost ship that supposedly returns to the Goodwin Sands every 50 years. The big question, though, is this genuinely, at this point, considered a local legend, a misunderstood sighting, or even just a newspaper story that got out of hand? So, according to the most common version of this story, the Lady Lovibond was a schooner sailing on February 13th, 1748. The captain, in this retelling, is usually named Simon Reed, although in some versions they just call him Simon Peel. He had recently married a woman named Annetta, and instead of having a normal wedding celebration on land, like people with survival instincts, he decided to bring his wedding party aboard his ship. Some versions say that the ship was bound for Porto, Portugal. Others frame it more as a celebratory cruise. Either way, the important part is that Simon brought his new bride aboard the ship. And that matters because...
Ooh, that's always a bad sign.
Yes, because... sailors have a long-standing superstition that bringing a woman aboard a ship is bad luck. This is unfair, obviously, but maritime superstition has never exactly been known for having an HR department, so...
Yeah, unfortunately, they should get on that.
Yeah, that's, we got unions figured out, we just gotta take care of the...
The sexism in the boat industry.
Yeah, the sexism on boats. That's our next big issue we're gonna take care of.
Okay, guys. Take a pause on figuring out the whole Roe v. Wade stuff. Let's figure out this boat shit.
Yeah, we got to get down to the nitty gritty of what the fuck are people doing on boats? Which truly, though,
that's what I want to know.
To me, it is because I hear way too many stories about the type of things that happen on cruise ships, and it's just I'm jaded against them. You will never catch me on a cruise ship.
I recently watched that Netflix documentary called Poop Cruise, where that.
Oh.
where they pooped in bags because their energy went out or something.
Oh my god. No, the fun part for me is that you were on Netflix and you saw something titled Poop Cruise and you were like, oh, I can't wait to watch this.
No, actually my husband picked it. But
that's fair. This makes sense. Suddenly things are coming together.
It's all making sense now.
That's funny. But no, there has been issues with like that and very, very, very many other issues with cruises.
Yes.
So the bride, Annetta, was supposedly beautiful and admired. Unfortunately, she was also admired by the wrong person, the first mate of the ship, John Rivers.
Oh, juicy.
So Rivers was allegedly in love with her, and in some versions he had been a rival for her affection before she married Simon. In others, his jealousy had been quietly growing in the background, unbeknownst to either the bride or the groom.
Ooh, scandal.
So while the captain, the bride, and the wedding guests celebrated below deck, Rivers remained above. The story says he was consumed by his jealousy, and at some point he took a belaying pin, which is just basically a heavy wooden or metal pin used in sailing, and struck the helmsman, where he then took control of the wheel of the ship himself. And instead of steering...
he's a man.
Of course, because he's like, listen, it can't be that hard.
If I can't have her, no one can.
If I can't have her, nobody can. Sailing a boat, anybody could do that.
I'm just gonna take over.
So instead of stealing the ship, he did that clearly. But instead of steering the ship safely through the channel, Rivers deliberately drove the Lady Lovibond into the Goodwin sands. The ship was wrecked. Everybody aboard died. There was no survivors. And this is where the story, this is where the story becomes both dramatic and suspicious, because if everyone died, how do we know that Rivers did what he did?
Great question.
Yes. That is one of the central problems with this legend. Some later versions try to explain this by saying there was an inquiry afterwards, and that Rivers' mother testified that he had threatened revenge. But when researchers go looking for contemporary records of the ship, the wreck, the inquiry, or even the people involved, the paper trail appears to fall apart. So the legend gives us a clean murder motive, but history doesn't. The ghost ship is just that. It's like a story. It's a mystery.
It is a mystery.
Because I wrote half my sentence and didn't finish it. And then I had to go back in my brain to when I was making notes. I was like, what was I trying to say? But yeah, basically the ghost ship becomes a ghost ship. It vanishes into history. It's non-existent at this point.
Fair. It just becomes one of those legends that is passed down through generations.
Exactly. So according to the haunting...
A tale advising against jealousy.
You know what?
Cautionary tale.
There is so many cautionary tales we do on this show between like your real life stories that you do and my not real life stories. Where there's always stories about like, you know, don't do crazy things because you're jealous, because there's always consequences. And it's like either a supernatural consequence or it's like a real life, like the police are going to get you consequence. Like, it's just interesting, right?
You will go to jail. Mm-hmm. DNA evidence is pretty good these days.
That you're right. So according to the haunting tradition, the Lady Lovibond does not simply vanish after the wreck. She returns every 50 years. The first supposed sighting is said to have happened on February 13th, 1798, exactly 50 years after the alleged sinking. In this version, the ship, called the Edinbridge, captained by James Westlake, reportedly saw a schooner heading straight towards the Goodwin Sands. Another fishing vessel is also sometimes included as a witness. Then, 50 years later, in 1848, the ship supposedly appeared again. This sighting was convincing enough, and according to the legend, the local men believed a real wreck had occurred, and they sent lifeboats from Deal to search for survivors. But they found nothing. The next major sighting attached to this story is in 1948, when a captain named Bull Prestwick allegedly saw the Lady Lovibond. He reportedly described it as looking real, except it had an eerie white glow. Then comes 1998. So, if the legend follows its own rules, the ship would have appeared again, but there was no widely reported sighting. At all.
It just got shy. People were looking at it too closely, and it was like, stop. I don't want to be perceived right now.
She's like, guys, you know, like, I get that I'm supposed to show up, like, every 50 years, but, like, you guys are getting kind of weird about it, and I don't know how I feel about that.
Exactly. I understand that for her. I relate.
If I was a ghost ship, I would do the exact same thing.
Yeah, I'd be like, you're expecting me? Well, now I'm not coming.
Yeah. Actually, I'm going to show up, but it's going to be really funny because it's going to be somewhere else entirely, and you're not even going to know.
Exactly. I love a petty ghost ship.
I love a petty ghost ship. So, there was no widely reported sighting, so either this ghost ship missed her own appointment, the witnesses missed seeing her, or as we've discussed already, the story was never operating on evidence in the first place. So, either the ghost ship, or I just read that line. So by the time the Legends timeline, what am I even saying? I'm like, you know what? I can read, but can I?
La 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 la.
We're gonna rinse and repeat that. So, by the Legends timeline, the next scheduled appearance would have been February 13th, 2048. So, mark your calendars.
Coming up.
I guess, because in 1998, I was only 2 years old. I wouldn't have known or had the means to go see the Lady Lovibond, but by 2048, I mean, that feels pretty attainable.
If we're still doing the podcast, we will live stream us going to see the lovely Lady Bond.
Deal. I'm in. Let's do it. So, everybody, mark your calendars. So
join our Instagram live.
Yeah, join our
in
Instagram
advance.
live or whatever social media is happening at that point. So like the story. So when you think about it, though, it's like, okay, cool. Like this, like story and like being able to like do this. It's kind of like, you know, very like maritime, very like English romanticism, very spooky. And then it's like, you know, if you're going on a trip to go there, this is like kind of like something you would design around like a trip, and you'd be like, you know what, you never know, like bring a friend that like is like not into it or something, make it extra fun.
Yeah.
So the Goodwin Sands, why is this location so important? We kind of went over this in the beginning because it is a little bit of, it has a history already before this even happened. So even if the Lady Lovibond herself isn't a questionable component in this story, the Goodwin Sands are not, because this is a real place that had a real reputation and real consequences for people who sailed through the Goodwin Sands. So the sands sit off the Kent coast. It's in a busy and historically dangerous part of the water. So I kind of talked about this already, but I'll just go over it again. Shifting sands, tides, storms, it like a lot of boats go through there. Heavy traffic. And it's kind of one of those things where it's like, if you, for whatever reason, get on a boat and forget where you are and you're in the Goodwin Sands, like an accident will happen. Like you got to pay attention. So there are a bunch of verified wrecks that are still there. One strong example is a ship called the Rooswijk, a Dutch East India Company ship that sank on the Goodwin Sands in January of 1740. That wreck is historically documented and archaeologically protected. And this matters because the Lady Lovibond legend did not appear in a random location. It's attached to this place that already is known for shipwrecks and a lot of maritime tragedy. So, kind of like what we spoke about before when I was doing my deep dive episode on like folklore. I'm trying to remember. It was folklore around, like ghost passengers. So there's a reason why these stories get perpetuated, is because there's usually already a pre-existing fear that can then get kind of like built onto. So if somebody told you a ghost ship appeared in a mall parking lot every 50 years, you would have questions. But a ghost ship appearing on the Goodwin Sands, it already fits the fear. It fits the emotional geography of how people were already feeling
the
about
lore
the place.
of the place.
Exactly. People already are like, yep, that checks out. Dangerous, spooky, unpredictable. Like, of course it would be there. So folklore often grows where the fear already exists, which we mentioned. And now we're going to get into the problem of the lack of evidence on how it is that a story could get perpetuated about a ship, and people are like, well, where's the fucking ship? Now we have to talk about the awkward part of the story on why it's like, we're pretty sure this is like a not real thing. It could be, but we're like pretty sure. So researchers George Behe and Michael Goss looked into Lady Lovibond and came to a skeptical conclusion. According to the summaries of their research, they found no reliable primary source mentioning the Lady Lovibond before a 1924 article in the Daily Chronicle. And that is an issue because a ship supposedly wrecked in 1748 with everybody aboard. There was a supposed inquiry, and there were supposedly named people involved in the story. And yet there does not appear to be a contemporary record of any of these factors. The ship, the wreck, the inquiry, the captain, the bride, or even the named passenger like the first mate. That does not automatically prove necessarily that a story is fake because, records can be lost. There could have been, something else going on at the time where record keeping was just like maybe not a thing really happening. Small ships can fall through documentation gaps, especially if it was just like a small wedding party and not like a gigantic, merchant ship, for example. So, oral tradition, though, does preserve stories before they are written down, which could explain why it is that this is a folklore story that has been perpetuated. But the lack of evidence still does make a confident historical version very hard to defend. There is another issue, which is that the earliest known printed version may have given the wreck date as 1724, not 1748. Later retellings settle on 1748, which lines up neatly with the alleged 1798, 1848, and 1948 sightings. That kind of shifting date is a classic sign that a legend has been shaped over time. And then there's also the timing. The story is about a doomed wedding ship that returns on February 13th, right before Valentine's Day. If this began as a newspaper piece in the 1920s, it may have been designed as a seasonal ghost story, a romantic tragedy for readers to read around Valentine's Day. And as a content strategy, yeah, that makes sense. As, like, historical, like, oh, this is what happened and now we're talking about it,
That's where things start getting dicey.
Yeah. So, even if the Lady Lovibond is an invented story, it is still worth talking about because invented stories can still tell us something real about what was going on for the time. The legend itself has a lot of different powerful themes that come up in folklore stories that we talk about. So things like jealousy, marriage, superstition, women being blamed for something. In this situation, it's bad luck. The danger of obsession, the sea being used as a tool of punishment, and the idea that certain tragedies can be so emotionally violent that they make their own history, like having the ship return every 50 years, for example. So it is also the perfect ghost ship story as far as like a structure goes for a folklore story. So a happy event becomes a disaster. The killer dies along with his victims, so nobody gets justice. The ship vanishes into a known maritime graveyard, and then every 50 years, the past comes back to haunt you. And the cycle is important because a ghost ship appearing one time is pretty scary. A ghost ship that appears on a schedule is a legend then that other people can participate in. You can wait for it, you can watch for it, you can make an event out of it, you can then tell other people about it and then pass the date down, which then makes it more than like a story. Yeah, it then becomes a ritual. It becomes something people are actively participating in.
Right.
So, there are a few different ways to interpret the Lady Lovibond story. The first is the supernatural version. The ship really did wreck, and its ghost returns every 50 years, which is the version I like, because it's fun.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The second is the mistaken identity version. Maybe people saw real ships in strange weather or poor visibility near the Goodwin Sands and later connected those sightings to an existing ghost story. The Goodwin Sands are already a difficult environment. Fog, reflected light, the tide, distance, and expectation could also make a normal vessel start to look strange. The third possibility is that the entire story is modern folklore, possibly originating from a newspaper article in 1924 and then being repeated until it felt older than it actually is. Because if the Lady Lovibond was created in the 20th century, then we are watching a legend being born in the public's eye. It shows how quickly a good story can become ancient if it has the right mood, the right location, and enough repetition. So that's kind of the story. I do have more to talk about as far as things that we could discuss. But at this point, how are you feeling? Towards what an explanation could be?
It's real. It just got a little shy that one time. People need to relax. Give her a break.
The 90s were stressful. The 90s were stressful. We have to cut her some slack.
Exactly. She had a man sink her. Is that not enough trauma?
You would think, right? It's not just the bride who was betrayed. The ship herself. She's supporting all of these people, and this man is taking pins out of her, walloping people, and then drives her into the shore. I'd be mad too.
That's what I'm saying. I'd be pissed. So yeah, maybe I'd be a little petty in 50 years. I don't know about you guys, but
Yeah, maybe she was on a contract deal. She's like, listen, guys, you got my 3 times. You want me to show up for a 4th time? You're going to have to pay me a lot more money than that.
Exactly. She was holding out to see if the demand would come, and then she could use that as leverage. She's just a businesswoman. A woman in STEM.
She is a woman in STEM. I kind of am leaning towards... I kind of feel like this was maybe more of like a warning story, if that makes sense. It makes sense to me.
It feels cautionary tale-esque.
It definitely feels cautionary tale-esque. And to me, it makes sense if you take into consideration like the actual environment of the Goodwin Sands. Obviously, we are in the middle of buttfuck nowhere, Canada, basically. So it's not like we, in our brains, know what that's like to have that experience. But I feel like if you live close to a channel or you are actively working in a place that has dangerous conditions and it is a high traffic route, there's going to be things that maybe you see sometimes in like poor conditions or whatever that make you wonder like, oh my god, like, you know, is that going to be somebody who needs help? Like, are they supposed to be here right now? Did they know? Like, this is like, you know, I feel like those are concerns that definitely would be
more
expressed.
Alert and aware.
Yeah, especially like if you are a part of that area. I could definitely see this evolving from people saying like, oh my gosh, I totally think I saw something, into then a cautionary tale that gets passed down because it you know, it kind of trends.
Yeah, I would agree with you there.
Yeah. So, let's see. So one of the most interesting things about this case is that the Lady Lovibond feels older than the evidence can say that it is. Because really, if you're looking for physical evidence, you can only go back to that article from the 1900s. So
yeah.
The conversation doesn't really need to be, is it a real story? Is it a fake story? It's more like, why does this story feel believable? Which, to me, kind of ties into
because a man fucked shit up.
Yeah. It's
period.
Like, the end. But you know what I mean? It's like, you can look at this either from the folklore aspect, which I know I've been dwelling on a little bit recently with episodes, but it's kind of been a heavier topic. Or it's like what you said, which is crimes follow, oddly enough, a pattern that a lot of these stories then also kind of adopt, probably influenced by that, which is, you know, people doing something fucked up because they feel a certain type of way. It leads to tragedy. Then there's a consequence associated with that tragedy. There's the tone of, you know, women being wronged. Women being wronged come up a lot in different folklore stories as a tool of, like, why is this happening? Like, whatever, right? So, to me, I'm like, yeah, it feels believable because it makes sense for the area in which this happened. That's, like, one part of it. But it also feels believable to what we understand from the human condition.
Yeah. It feels in line with human nature and how men act. And I'm just kidding. Kind of.
We're all laughing.
Sort of. A little bit.
We're all having a good time.
Maybe you're not. I don't know.
But you're right, though. It's like, there's certain things where it's like, okay, in, you know, a torrid lover story, there is usually either a man or a woman or whoever that enacts revenge of some kind. And if we're talking like physical active revenge, like violent revenge, it's usually a man. If we're talking like, you know, a poisoning or something a little bit of like a softer but lethal revenge, you know, there's typing involved in this.
Mm-hmm.
So
there's stereotypes for a reason.
Yes. So the Goodwin Sands are genuinely dangerous. The ghost ship stories are already a part of maritime folklore. Valentine's Day gives the story a tragic romance angle. The 50-year cycle gives it a memorable hook, and the lack of records almost helps the legend because mystery loves an empty space where people can't explain something. It is also worth talking about how folklore changes. So the captain's name changes in this story. The spelling of the ship name changes. The dates have changed. The story gets cleaner and more dramatic over time. And this is usually a clue that the legend is being shaped for, like, maximum emotional effect instead of, like, consistency and accuracy.
Mm-hmm.
So, where do we land exactly with the Lady Lovibond story? So, as a confirmed shipwreck, we agreed that it's, like, that's a weak story. As a ghost story, though, it's awesome. Like, I think it's fun. It's giving to me kind of like, like Knives Out, like a whodunit mystery. It kind of feels like a little bit of a Victorian whodunit type ghost ship story, which is awesome. Like, I think that's so cool.
Yeah, I agree.
And as an example of how folklore forms around dangerous places, it is one of the probably the better ones, because even with when I did the Flying Dutchman story, that was also a cautionary tale, because where the ship disappeared was like off the coast. I'm trying to remember of where exactly, but not here, but still off the coast of England somewhere. And, it was the similar thing, like poor weather conditions, lots of different things happening. And
that dang unpredictable ocean.
A dang unpredictable ocean. And the Goodwin Sands are already something that's feared. Real ships did wreck there, real people did die there, and history created kind of the perfect stage for this to happen in the first place. So, regardless of whether the Lady Lovibond ever existed or not, the story sticks because it feels like it belongs there. And maybe that's the real haunting in all of this. Because it's not the ship that's the ghost, but the story itself keeps returning.
It's not the ship, but the friends we made along the way.
Yeah, maybe the real ghost ship is the friends we made along the way. Exactly. And yeah, but that is my story for you today. I feel like for the summertime, I was like, I really want to do another ghost ship story, but as you can tell, it's tough finding a very many legit ghost ships. I feel like that's a tough one sometimes.
It's a tall task for sure.
Uh-huh. But anyway, I had fun.
I had fun too.
I do think this is like definitely, like we already kind of agreed earlier, cautionary tale. I would be into it though if like I will eat my pants if the year comes, whatever year I said, I think 1948 or 2048. And there's like some story that pops up where they're like, ghost ship spotted up the coast of the Goodwin Sands. I would literally eat my pants. I'd be like, that's crazy.
Well, you won't see the headline because people will be there to witness it.
And all of our listeners, this is true.
Exactly, guys. So on that note, head over to our Patreon.
Help us afford our trip to the Goodwin Sands by 2048.
We've got a long way to go.
Yeah, for a single dollar, you can sponsor us over the years. Oh my god. Anyway, I'm going to do our closing notes. So if you liked today's episode, please make sure to leave us a review on wherever you're listening to our podcast. We, as Jen mentioned, also have a Patreon if you want to sponsor our trip to the Goodwin Sands in 20 plus years. You can check us out on there. We have our, what do we have? We have a website called www.wheelofcrime.com if you want to check us out on there. We have our email, which is wheelofcrime@gmail.com. We have our social media, which is on Facebook, X, Instagram, and TikTok, all at Wheel of Crime. And if you listened to today's story and you were like, I've been on a ghost ship once,
I am the ghost ship.
Yeah, maybe you are the ghost ship. You can write in and you can tell us all about it. We are running out of time here for accepting listener submissions because we do have a listener episode coming out, not next episode, but the one after that. So if you are keen, get in there, write in your story, submit it, and we can potentially share your story next on the Wheel of Crime podcast.
Yes, and that's it. That's all. We'll see you next week for another new episode. Okay, bye.
Bye.